Long ago, in a village on the banks of a wide and powerful river in the west, there lived a poor but honest yam seller. His name was Quaim, and every Saturday market day he would set out his wares in the bustling crowd, hoping to make enough profit to feed himself and his family for the week ahead. But this was not easy, for the yam fields that surrounded the village were so fertile that everyone grew plenty of yams, and the competition was fierce. And so each Saturday found Quaim in the same position, barely able to sell any of his precious harvest. But then something magical began to happen. You see, this particular stretch of river was said to be the home of the great African mermaid, the beautiful Mami Wata, and every night while the moon was full, she would leave the safety of the river to come ashore and buy yams from the market. She would arrive on the stroke of midnight, always paying for them with handfuls of glowing seashells that looked like polished amber in the firelight. Now, Quaim had heard the stories about Mami Wata, just as all the villagers had. They knew her as a supernatural spirit of the river, a kind of water deity who could be very dangerous if disrespected. Sometimes they said she would drag unsuspecting fishermen into the water with her, or she would cause the river to swell and flood the village. But other times she would bestow gifts on those she favored, and it seemed that she favored Quaim. For weeks, he awoke each morning to find strange seashells beneath his yam barn, and he knew that meant that Mami Wata had been there in the night. And each time she came, she took more and more shells, until he began to wonder if she might be trying to buy all the yams in the market. And Quaim became greedy. The thought of all those beautiful shells hidden in his hut made his head spin, and he began to plot how he might get more of them. He wanted to go to the river and find the source of her treasures, but he didn't know where to start. Then, one night, when the moon was full, as Quaim lay awake listening to the drums of the village, celebrating market day, he heard splashing in the river. It was Mami Wata. She had come for more yams, he was sure of it. And this time Quaim decided he would follow her. He crept down to the river bank and waded in after her, but the water immediately closed over his head. In a panic, he began to thrash about, but the current was strong and pulled him further and further into the river. When he finally broke through the surface, gasping and sputtering, he saw that he was much farther downriver than he had intended to go, and the sight before him made him forget his fear. There on the bank lay the most beautiful pile of seashells he had ever seen, and each one glowed like a tiny lantern in the moonlight. But before he could grab one, a voice boomed from behind him. "Who goes there?" Quaim turned to see Mami Wata rising from the water. She was even more stunning than he had imagined, with her skin the color of burnished copper, her hair braided with beads and cowrie shells, and a colorful African cloth wrapped around her upper body. She demanded to know why he had trespassed into her sacred waters, and when she realized that he had meant her no harm, she lifted a hand and pointed to the pile of shells. "Take them," she said, "but do not touch the water again." Of course, Quaim did not listen. The moment Mami Wata had turned away, he plunged into the river, scooped up handfuls of the glowing shells, and tucked them into his shirt. Then he ran back to the village as fast as he could, eager to show off his treasure. But when he woke the next morning, he found that the shells had turned hard and cold, and he knew he had been cursed. He rushed to the river to tell Mami Wata what had happened, but when he got there, he found that his entire yam harvest, the very crops that she had come to buy, had spoiled overnight. and as punishment for his greed, the river had taken everything from him. Quaim was beside himself with grief. What was he to do now? He had nothing to sell and nothing to eat. So he went to the wise elder of the village and told him all that had happened. The old man listened patiently, and when Quaim finished, he said, "I think you need to go back to the river and undo the harm that you have caused." So Quaim returned to the riverbank, carrying cola nuts and palm wine, and chanting the ancient words for appeasement. And there, at the edge of the water, he poured out the libation and asked the river spirits to forgive him. To his great surprise, the river accepted his apology, and after 3 days, his yams began to grow once more. From that day forward, Quaim never asked for more than an honest day's profit at the market, and he never ever returned to Mommy Wata's waters. And that is why, my children, we must be content with what we have, for the things that seem magical may not be meant for us. And however powerful a mermaid may be, she cannot turn back the tide of a foolish heart. The end.